Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 23, 2024, and we are getting into the volume 200 of me answering your immigration related questions. As always, before beginning this video, I'm going to mention, as I mentioned in every video on this channel, I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not legal advice. All information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with the very first question from Zahra Co 8331. Thank you very much for being publicly subscribed, appreciate it. So Zahra says, my sister is waiting for the interview. F4 priority date, other part of the world, May 25th, 2007. Do you have any idea how long we have to wait? Alright, let's take a look at the visa bulletin, see what's going on for F4 and see if it is already current on graph A. So right now, as of May 2024, the priority date that will become current are July 2007, and your sister's priority date is in May 2007. So that means May, June, July, so it's behind. So that means that it is already current, and let's see how long it's been current, because let me check April, see what's going on for April, because it's really hard to tell how long she's been current, because sometimes visa bulletin moves 1 month ahead, sometimes it doesn't move at all, sometimes it moves. Okay, so it moved from June, so okay, and let's see April, let's see March, if it also moved 1 month. No, as you see, it's still in June on March, so she might have been current for longer than, definitely longer than 2 months now. Let's see, February, May 2007. Okay, so she became current as of February. So she's been current now for February, March, April, roughly 3 months. So that means that her immigrant visa is already available. So that's definitely good news. Not so good news is, depending on where you are, which country you're from, well, your sister, where she is, US embassies, it's all at their discretion when the interview is going to be scheduled. Most of the times, it used to be at least between 6 months and a year, the wait time for the interview to be scheduled after the immigrant visa becomes available. Sometimes, at the very, at least from what I can judge from the comments that I'm getting, it seems like it shifted more towards year and a half. So there is still some time to wait for her, definitely for the interview to be scheduled. I would say give it another 3-4 months, and then reach out to the U.S. Embassy where in the country where your sister's at, and ask them, see if they can give you the information on either when her interview was scheduled for, or at least how long it takes, how long the wait is. Because you're basically waiting for all the people who had their immigrant visa already available, who are just in line for that immigrant visa to be scheduled. A lot of these embassies, they will be able to catch up eventually and bring down that wait list, because like a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had this whole closures with the pandemic, so no interviews were scheduled at all. So a lot of the countries, especially where there's a heavier immigration flow, they are trying to catch up with that. But again, this is just a speculation. There is really no guarantees. So potentially, if your sister is in a country where it's not as heavy immigration traffic, potentially she might have her interview by the end of the year. If not by the end of the year, then the beginning of the next year. Okay, so let me post a response here, and we're gonna move on to the next one from Vali DH1587. Dear sir, my daughter was eliminated from our immigrant case at the very last time. Wow, during immigrant interview yesterday at US Embassy due to aging out over 21. It took us 16 years to finally get the interview appointment. Wow, she was 8 years old when F3 petition was filled, and now she's 23 years old. How can NVC and USCIS did not inform us before this happened? The rest of family members got their US visa except her. How can they do this before prior notice or communication? They are saying this is US law and we can't do anything. How can we go without her, or how can we leave her alone? Being as an Afghan refugee in Pakistan, it is not safe at all. What should I do now? How can we solve this out? Vali, I'm very sorry this happened to you. And thank you for sharing. This is one of the reasons why I started doing more videos on family immigration on this channel, is because a lot of people just don't realize how bad it is, how embarrassing it is, for US Congress, who enacts these kind of legislations where these consuls can look at and say, oh, this is US law. Oh, we're gonna separate a child, a 23-year-old girl, we're gonna separate from her family, who actually was part of the case for 16 years. For 16 years. Man, so Vali, sorry this happened. A few things that I would recommend you do. Look at the original receipt that you got from USCIS when the case was started, when the case was received. Basically the priority date. The exact date when that is on the notice of receipt that you got from USCIS in response to I-130. That's the date number one. The date number two you're looking at is when the I-130 was approved by USCIS. It has nothing to do with NVC. Just when the USCIS received the I-130 and when it was approved. Calculate the amount of time between the date one, when the I-130 was received, and when the I-130 was approved. That is the amount of time that is by US law under the CSPA, Child Status Protection Act, that you can subtract on the day of interview from your daughter's age and see if she qualifies under the CSPA. Just to verify, just to make sure that they are not, overlooked something, or because if it is more than 2 years, and you can subtract more than 2 years from her current age on the date of interview, that puts her under 21 and she qualifies as a child under CSPA. So verify that it's definitely not the case. I'm assuming they did this, and that's the US law that they're referring to. They did the calculation themselves and they're saying no, she does not qualify under CSPA. Maybe, but I would still verify that, just to be on the safe side, because we don't want to rely on anybody's, we want to, everything that we do in our immigration steps, we want to re-verify and make sure, yes, this was calculated correctly. Yes, this was done correctly. Now, if you determine that yes, it is true, it's not enough time to subtract to bring her under 21 on the day of the interview, and she indeed is aged out, or out of the CSPA, she doesn't qualify for CSPA. If that is the case, I would recommend reaching out to finding an attorney here in US and working with them and seeing if there is really not much that they can do, unfortunately. But they might know some loopholes that we typically don't deal with as immigrants, that they see themselves whenever it comes to stuff like this. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of things that you can do if she really is aged out. But it is definitely, it only will benefit you if you reach out and have consultation with an attorney. Now, past all of this, probably the best thing to look at right now for your daughter is something that is non-immigrant. Something that is some kind of non-immigrant visa that she can get as soon as possible so that she can travel with you, with your family. That can be a visitor visa, that can be a student visa, that can be exchange program visa. She's 23, so I'm assuming she's in some kind of higher education facility, maybe going to, university, possibly. If that's the case, maybe there are some kind of exchange programs that are available from the university. If not, maybe you can find her something that you can apply for her here in the United States. so that she can get her non-immigrant visa and come here. That is a temporary solution so that the family is not separated. While this is happening, as soon as you come back, obviously your number one first priority should be to apply for her. Start the same, and for her now it's going to be, well, since you are coming in here, you're going to be under the as a permanent resident, because as soon as you enter the United States with your immigrant visa, with your I-551 stamp, you will be a permanent resident. So as soon as you are a permanent resident, you can petition for her as an unmarried son, daughter over 21. So she's going to be in F2B category, which is a long wait. Absolutely, very long wait on those. Let's see, I think it is right now. Yeah, so it's April 2016. So as of right now, there is 8-year wait. But the sooner you start, obviously, the sooner you get the case on the move, the better it is. Meanwhile, if you can find any other avenues, of course. But that's really what we're looking at right now. Man, it's really sad. It really is sad. This is horrible. This is absolutely, it's unacceptable. Stuff like this should not be happening. It should not be happening. There should not be any kind of law that you look at and say, oh, this is the law. Let's separate the family. That was all this time for 16 years. They've been already waiting and were together on one case. All of the documents were submitted, all of this, and even went for an interview. Man, yeah, this is embarrassing. For US Congress, this is embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment. Yeah, hopefully something is done about this, but honestly, I've been dealing with immigration law for now, man, since 2008. Since 2008. And things only gotten worse, unfortunately. Sorry, Vali. I really am sorry that this happened to you. This is absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Raina. Raina says, thank you so much for answering. Raina, you're very welcome. Hope my answer was helpful. Moving further to Oleg Vidovichenko 7327. Hello, what to do if tracking show the package was received on 3/21/2024 and receipt and nothing in the online cabinet? Great question, Oleg. Thank you for asking. So let's see, 3/21. So it's been just over a month since it's showing that it was received. This is the thing with the mailing the applications, is that it takes time for whoever, the immigration officer because you're sending them to the PO box. So it takes, well, most of the times PO box. I don't know if in your situation you sent it with the courier like UPS or FedEx, because if you're sending with UPS and FedEx, it goes more directly to USCIS office. But if you're sending it with USPS, you're sending it to the PO box. So depending on where you sent it, there might be a little bit in difference in time of how long before it gets from the point where it was received to the desk of the immigration officer that is going to be reviewing your case. Now, about a month, I would say it's normal. I would give it another 2 weeks. And if nothing is happening, reach out. It's gonna be a pain, honestly, reaching out to them over the phone. But the thing is, you can't really submit an online case inquiry, because you can only submit the online case inquiry once the case is already in the system and it's been a certain amount of time that is outside of normal processing times, basically. So give it another 2 weeks for a total of a month and a half. And if there's still no update, and if you don't receive the notice of receipt, because typically that's how long it takes. It usually is about months and a half. So you're still within the normal. And if there is absolutely nothing, give them a call. Like I said, it's kind of a pain reaching out to them over the phone, but be persistent, because it just takes a lot of prompts, listening to a lot of stuff over the phone Just keep scrolling through the prompt, and eventually it will tell you if you need more help. Click whatever, and it will take you to the phone representatives, and then to the phone representative. They're not gonna be able to tell you much, unfortunately, as well. But at least you will give a little bit of a nudge and say, hey guys, it's showing, the tracking number shows delivered, and nothing is happening. Okay, let me post a response here. Hopefully that was helpful, and we're gonna move on to the next question from Meet Patel 6452. Hello sir, thanks for your explanation for my concern. I have a little query for what happens after I-130 get approval. Can I file adjustment of status ASAP after 130 got approved, or I have to wait till priority date become current on date for filing chart or final action date chart? Yes. So you have to wait for the immigrant visa to become available, for your priority date to become current on the graph A. Technically you can, and a lot of times when the beneficiary is in the United States, like in your situation, it can be a packaged application of I-130 and I-485. But honestly, there is not much point to do that. I would recommend just waiting until it is available and then filing it, or at least filing it closer to when the priority date is becoming current. So let's take a look. With that being said, how long you still have. Case F2B, priority date May 03, 2019. Parents were a green card holder at time of filing petition. Now they're citizen. I came here on F1 visa in 2017. Until then, maintaining my legal status as an F1 student. Thanks for your valuable time. Okay, so let's take a look at F2B. You are May 03, 2019, and we are looking at F2B April 2016, and you are May. So about 3 years you still have before the priority date becomes current. So you see, if you can maintain your student status here in the United States, great. You're not going to be separated from your family. You're going to be here. Awesome. About, I would say give it another 2 years closer to the priority date become current, maybe a year, half 6 months before, and then submit that I-485. And you're gonna hear from the NVC as well, because they will tell you whether I'm sure when the I-130 was filed, in the I-130 it was specified whether you are in the United States or outside of the United States. And if not, then NVC will ask you where you want your case to be processed. But I would say definitely wait a little bit more, because there is really no point of submitting this so early and then just, sitting there and waiting, because, well, another 3 years is still a long time, unless you're 100% confident that you're going to be here on your F1 status or whatever status to maintain your legal presence in the United States. And if not, then yeah, even more so, do not rush with it, and give it some more time. And I wanted to point out to Vali, if you are still watching, that's one of the things, that's why I said that's one of the things to consider is a non-immigrant visa. Because while your daughter's petition is pending that you now submitted for her, and that she's going to be in F2B, while you're waiting for that petition to be processed, at least she can be here in the United States with you on a non-immigrant status. Okay, so let me post a response here, and we're gonna move on to the next one from Tristan J. Hello, I'm F2B documentarily qualified last Jan 2022 and with priority date of August 2013 in Manila, Philippines. Is there still hope for IAL, I'm assuming immigration interview? Okay, so let's take a look at the F2B for Philippines. Let's see what it looks like. So you are in August 2013, and we have F2B Philippines October 2011, and you are in August 2013. So there is roughly another 2 years and roughly 2 months. 2 years, 2 months before your priority date becomes current. It's a rough estimate, because sometimes visa bulletin moves faster than 1 month every month. Sometimes it doesn't move at all. Sometimes it retrogresses. Hopefully we don't see it anytime soon or ever again, but it's still a possibility. So keep checking on the visa bulletin. You still have a little bit of time to wait. Obviously, once your priority date becomes current, there is still some time to wait for an interview to be scheduled. And that, you know, Manila, Philippines, I know Philippines, I get a lot of comments from people who are in Philippines waiting for their interview to be scheduled, and some of them are waiting for as long as 2.5 years. So there is still time involved there, but definitely keep checking on the visa bulletin every month once the new one comes out. On this channel, once the new visa bulletin comes out, I do a video on each new visa bulletin, comparing it to the previous one so that everybody knows what the movement was for their particular category and chargeability area. So if you're not subscribed yet, please consider. Okay, moving further to Azan Shahzad 9612. Sir, please fill form I-129 for E2. Azan, I think you're second person requesting that, unless it's already you requested it. But yes, I have it already on my to-do list, and I'm definitely gonna do it one of these days. I have the video on how to fill out I-129, so if you have not seen it, definitely check it out, because I-129 is standard for everyone. And then depending on which category you're applying for, you're filling out for that particular, there is a supplementary pages for each category. So chances are that I'm filling out, I'm pretty sure it's H1B that I'm filling out in the I-129, but E2 it's very similar. So check out that video, and I will make a dedicated E2 video one of these days as well. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Romel Kuiap 5479. Thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. Hi sir, could you help me? My priority date December 24, 2018, and my documentarily qualification date is November 6, 2023. When do you think my interview F2A category from the Philippines? Okay, let's take a look at the visa bulletin. So we are looking at the graph A, final action date. So Philippines is on June 21, just like the rest of the world, which is definitely great news. It means Philippines is on track and it does not experience any additional backlog. So F2A June 21, and you are in 2018. Wow, so you've been current for a very long time now. You've been current for a while. So your interview has been scheduled a while ago. You should be getting it literally anytime now. Like I said, some people, judging from the comments at least that I receive on this channel, from people from Philippines, they're waiting as long as 2.5 years. That was the longest one that people waited so far. So you've been current now between 21 and 18. It's roughly your December, so almost 2019. Roughly June 21. My math is absolutely horrendous, I'm sorry, but about 2 years. December. So about 2.5 years you've been waiting for. So I'm positive that your interview was already scheduled. You just don't know when it was scheduled because it's not 30 days before the interview. Sometimes, very rarely, they announce 60 days before the interview, but in most of the cases it is 30 days before the interview that they send you an email saying, okay, your interview is scheduled. So let's say, for example, if your interview was scheduled for, let's say, June 1st, 2024, you will receive the email on May 1st, 2024, or around May 1st, maybe a day sooner or a day later, saying that your interview was scheduled for June 1st, 2024. The reason why they do it is that so that you do the medical examination within those 30 days. So your interview is already scheduled, for sure. You've been waiting that long. It's just not 30 days before the interview yet. That's why they did not announce it. But I would say definitely by the end of this year, for sure. I would say within the next few months you should be getting your interview, judging by what the people are waiting for from Philippines. And once you do get your interview scheduled, please come back to this channel and just post a comment on any of the videos, doesn't matter. Just say, I am from Philippines, F2A category, and I have been waiting for my interview for however long you've been waiting for. This is very helpful. And everyone who's watching these videos, if you had your interview already scheduled, please do, whichever country you're from, because That is the best indication for everyone to know, because it's very specific to US Embassy in a specific country. You know, if in Philippines it takes, in Manila US Embassy it takes 2.5 years. It might take in, you know, Kingston, Jamaica, it might take 1.5 years. In another country, it might take a year. And we don't really know that information unless someone who is there and recently had their interview scheduled tells us, hey, I've been waiting for that long. So if you can, please share that information. That would be extremely helpful for everyone. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Dikonti Paji Boshar. Hello, sir. I am from Liberia. Been approved since July 10, 2023. Still waiting for my interview date. My husband is a US citizen. I don't know why I'm waiting for my interview date. I can leave the country to visit my sister in Ghana. Please, sir, I will need your help. So, great question. Yeah, there is absolutely no problems whenever it comes to traveling. You know, if you're waiting for your interview, there is absolutely no problems traveling outside of the country. No problems whatsoever. In your case, you know, you're visiting your sister, so there's a very legitimate, valid reason why you're going to Ghana to visit your sister, so it makes sense. Now, as far as your petition, the good news is that because it's immediate relative category, because your husband is US citizen, there is no backlog that you're dealing with. So as soon as your petition was approved, which is July 2023, which is now, let's see, July, so about a year, about 9 months that your petition was approved, your immigrant visa was already available all this time. So I'm not sure whether it was approved with USCIS or if you refer to being documentarily qualified, because if it was approved with USCIS, it should have been already transferred to the NVC. Your documentary qualification should have already started, because in the immediate relative category, you don't really wait for the NVC portal to open up. As soon as it is transferred, it is already open, so you start your documentary qualification immediately. But I'm assuming you have already been documentarily qualified, and that's what you're referring to, and you're just now waiting really for the interview. And it is normal, so you're still within normal 9 months of waiting for an interview. Like I said, most of the times, at least before, it was from 6 months to a year that you wait for these interviews to be scheduled after your immigrant visa becomes available. In your case, after you became documentarily qualified, because your immigrant visa was available as soon as the I-130 was approved. But now it seems to shift more towards a year, 1.5 years. So you're still within the normal time. No worries at all. I would say potentially you're looking by the end of this year for your interview. If not, then beginning of the next year. But as far as the traveling goes, there's absolutely no problems with that. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Carla Friel 9451. Hello, my son. He's 26 years old and live in Thailand. I'm US citizen and I am going to apply for a green card for him. I filled out the form I-130 already. Do I need to fill out the form I-485 at the same time? Thanks so much. Carla, great question. So no, you don't have to worry about the I-485. You are just filling out the I-130. And I'm honestly would recommend doing the I-130, just the I-130, because if you're doing just the I-130, you can do it online. And that's, if you can do that, if you can submit the I-130 online, it's a lot more preferable than filing it by mail. That's one of the benefits of filling out the I-130 separately from the I-485, because it allows you to fill it out online. And when you're combining the applications, you have to send them by mail. And sending applications by mail, it delays the process by a little bit. It can cause all sorts of, because they have different requirements for paper applications, no blank spaces, this and that. So it's much better to do it online if you have not done it already. And besides, in your case, your son is outside of the United States, and it's only in situations where the beneficiary is in the United States that you have an option to file the I-130 and I-485 combined. Okay, so let me post a response here, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Probably our last question for today. We'll see from user, sorry, no name. Hello, my husband is from Nigeria. I explained this to you back in episode 177. I think, however, he was giving an interview back in November. but was not granted his visa on the spot. The officer asked him about drug use. He said he used to smoke cannabis and now he don't. She thought he was lying. Now he had to go back to medical to see if his psychiatrist, which he did on January 28th. Then he was asked to send more documents of our marriage, which he did as well. So they're suspecting something with the marriage. Now he's in administrative processing. Okay, yeah, so they're definitely suspecting something. What is that and how long does that take? We have been at this for 3 years now. I have been to Nigeria 4 times and it might be another time because I have not seen my husband in a year. I think the officer thinks our marriage is fake and it is not. We have been through so much together. I just want my husband to come here so we can start our life together. Please, what is your insight on the situation? Thank you for your question, and I'm sorry this is happening to you. So yes, your suspicion is accurate, and I because it's when you are placed on an administrative processing, whenever they request, especially whenever it comes to marital documents, that is some kind of suspicion. They are, suspecting that there is a problem, and that's the thing that I always talk about whenever it comes to these immigration interviews, is that when you're going through an immigration interview, and you are really any other relationship, sister, brother, son, daughter, any other relationship other than husband, wife, it is a completely different set of questions. There is not much concentration on the relationship because really you're just showing the birth certificate and you just establish that, yeah, it's your relative, that's it. However, whenever it comes to husband and wife, there's additional set of questions, there's additional set of the thought pattern that the consul goes through to establish that the marriage is in fact valid. Now, in your particular situation with administrative processing, unfortunately there is no set times. So it can be a few weeks, it can take a few months, it can be longer. It really depends. The best thing to do for you in your situation, there's a couple of things that you can do. First of all, for sure, 100%, I would start shopping around for a good immigration attorney who dealt with a situation like this. I have a video on finding a good immigration attorney on this channel. Check it out. Basically, I just talk about I worked for immigration attorneys. I hired immigration attorneys. I'm an immigrant myself. It's really from my personal experience of all the things that I did wrong and all the things I did other people do wrong whenever it comes to immigration attorneys, so that you don't put yourself in bad situation. Free consultations. Go for a few free consultations with immigration attorneys. See what they recommend. Number 2, apart from the immigration attorney, wherever state that you are in, here in the United States of America, do the research on the state politics, see who elected officials are. It can be state representative, the senator, whoever. Go each of these state representatives, they each have their own website. Most of them, they have the public relations section on their website where you can go and you can contact them and you can express your problem. And a lot of times you will see the problems that they deal with. And you need to find someone who is dealing with the immigration issues. Find that person, that elected official, reach out to them, explain the situation. They will send you the public release of public information form. You fill it out, you send it back to them. You send all of the information to them in a cover letter, explaining the case, giving the case number, giving all the details, everything. And then letting them know that you want them to reach out to the US Embassy and say, yes, this marriage is real and you've been going through this all this time and now you're reaching out to... That will definitely help strengthen your case in the eyes of the consul that is in Nigeria, in the US Embassy in Nigeria, who's looking at the case. Because they will look at it and say, okay, we have a husband and wife here, and the wife went that far to reach out to an elected official on her behalf to request us to process the case and say, yes, this really is my husband, and I'm waiting for him, and it's hard, and this and that. It will definitely help strengthen the position, and it might help with the situation and getting him faster out of the administrative processing. It's not a guarantee, but it is a very, very strong, it's a very strong plus, because it's a very strong indicator showing that, yes, this, you know, if the wife is willing to do that and reach out to a US elected official on behalf of her husband and say, hey, you know, my husband is waiting for the immigrant visa all this time, and now he's being put through all of this, and he's been honest. You know, he's been honest about the drug use. He could have just said, no, I never did any drugs, and that's it, because he's been already through the medical examination. But for his honesty, he was punished, and now he's being dragged through all of this. It sucks. But this is the two things that I would recommend. Reach out to an immigration attorney. Shop around, go for a few free consultations, and then the second one is do the research on the elected officials in your state and see who is dealing with the immigration, and reach out to them and request for their help. So thank you very much for all your questions. Hopefully my answers were helpful today. If you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Just make sure not to respond to my comment within your comment, because I don't see those responses. Just submit it as a separate comment on any of the videos, and it will show up on this wall. So thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you all in the next video.